All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to the Living Journey where we work on human transformation in real time. I'm on day 20 of 365. Yeah, 365, my friends. Many of you are on the journey with us, and tonight I'm joined by a good friend of mine, great business guy, Brett Christoffel from All Y'all Foods. Welcome, buddy.
Thanks, Shane. Howdy.
Howdy, howdy. Oh, I forgot to press live on my Instagram. There we go. I wanted to do it because we were all like,
Progress, not perfection.
That's right. That's right. That's how we do it here. Well, I'm excited. It's obviously what I've been doing and building this, this human transformation and showing behind the scenes of my journey and everything that I'm doing. And now I'm going to be bringing on live guests, and I'm excited to have you as my first guest.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
That's right. We'll look back in this in 3 years and we'll be like, wow, remember that? Remember our
Right.
first, didn't it?
Yeah, we've had one or two of those along the way.
That's right. And that's how we first met too, was a podcast.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, the first podcast we were supposed to have ended up just being a conversation. Then we had to reschedule to do the actual podcast.
Ah, good memory. I had a good memory. I went to said that, to tell you the truth. So awesome. Well, let's go talk a little bit about, tell first just the cliff notes, a little bit about yourself, a little bit of backstory.
Native Texan, grew up on a meat-centric diet, hunting and fishing like pretty much everyone else. And then one day realized I love a cow like I love a dog. So I stopped eating them and then started making jerky and bits from plants to serve people, to show that it's really about the chew and flavor. It has nothing to do with the meat. And,
Right.
In between all that is life, but that's been my focus on the business side.
Right. Cool. So let's go a little bit into today. We're going to talk a little bit about the business a little bit later, but I want to go into some human stuff today. First off,
Sure.
how you just feeling as a human being in general?
Grateful.
Yeah. Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wake up and I go through all the things I'm grateful for, and I usually fall asleep going through the things I'm grateful for.
Man,
It makes life a much happier place.
Sure does. One of the most powerful practices that you can do is gratitude.
Without question. For me, it's gratitude and surrender.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I think that, a lot of people don't understand gratitude is one of the most powerful emotions that you can actually put into your body and into your brain. It actually takes you into one of the better brainwave states. Alpha brainwave takes you out of that beta brainwave and takes you into a super powerful brainwave state. So there's so many benefits of gratitude in general. I do gratitude on a consistent basis too, every morning. So that's very interesting. You said surrender.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't heard very many people talk about surrender. Touch on that for a minute.
Sure. So for me, since I started the company, since I was introduced to a spiritual program years ago,
Right.
and I read a couple of books, The Untethered Soul and The Power of Now. It's the universe is going to play out how it's going to play out. Our brain is going to tell us that we have some amount of control over it, and we do to an extent. So surrender is not like defeat.
Right.
Surrender is like, look, all I want to do is do what I'm supposed to do in the universe. And I ask for direction and the next right thing to do. And that's what I do, because, setting intentions and working towards that is what it's all about. But the universe is going to play out how it's going to play out. I can't control anyone.
Right.
But all I can do is do my best to achieve what I want to achieve, what's been put on my heart, and then go forward. And so surrender for me is trusting the universe. Many people call it the universe, God, whatever their religious thoughts may be. But for me, it's about going, look, I'm only here for a little while. I want to do the most I can, the best I can while I'm here, and help me to do that. And then just surrender and take guidance.
Right. I like that. I don't think you don't hear people talk a lot about surrender, to tell you the truth. So I think it's a great, it's kind of reminds me, it's kind of me too. Like mine's more like just letting go, and letting.
Yeah.
I use a different word almost, but it's the same principle. just let it go, let the universe um, unfold of how it's supposed to unfold. It's almost sometimes when you try and push towards things so much, they move away from you faster,
Yeah.
right?
In the 12-step program, they say, let go, let God,
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, there you go. I use
and
let go all the time.
trust the process,
Yeah, it's true.
or,
Yeah.
or go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No,
I
no,
was going
go
to
ahead.
say, or you can fight it and be miserable all the time. You do get a choice.
Right. Yeah. 100%. I love that. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about. Let me ask you a question before I go into a deeper topic. That's a deep
Sure.
topic. What are you proud of in your life right now?
I'm proud of,
Besides having me as a friend, I knew you were going to say that, so we'll get that out there now.
I love the modesty. I think most proud of is that I've started a company with something I believe in. I have been above board throughout, this almost an 8-year journey. And so
Right.
I'm most proud of what it is I'm doing in the world, who I am in the world to those I'm close with. And I did a video. I rewrote a rap song one time and redid a video, and it went from "Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangsta" to "Damn It Feels Good to Be a Vegan," and I'm proud. Kind of have I have some pride in that because
Right.
well, I don't think it's perfect by any means. I think it's a really great message and kind of a fun play, and
Right.
so I guess it would be, you know, minding my business and staying out of others' business, and just treating people the way I'd want to be treated.
Right.
That whole do unto others thing. Absolutely. And that includes all living things for me.
Right.
Yeah, because that do unto others, I think others includes, for me, every living thing.
Hmm. Yeah. 100%. And obviously, I know that about you and about your company. Do you feel right now that that's a big separation with humanity in the world right now? Do you feel they sway more to not being kind to each other and compassionate to each other?
Well, I think part of it is, and I've had people come at me and I'm like, who are
Right.
you? Did
Right.
mom and dad not love you enough to get picked on enough? But I think a lot of times when I hear people doing those things outside of the way I want to be, I think they're driven by fear,
Right.
or hate or anger, things
Right.
like that. So I couldn't say, I can't say what
Mm.
anyone else is thinking, but I think the problem is that people believe a lot of the information they're have access to, and
Yeah.
I stopped believing all media decades ago,
Right.
and I take it with a grain of salt, and I'm like, how are the people around me? People around me are cool. How are the
Right.
people I interact with?
Yeah.
Everyone's fine. I mean, not everyone's perfect, but I think there's a whole lot more love in the world
Right.
than hate, and the whole hate and us and them, that whole thing. Pink Floyd sang about it really well. Well, after all, we're only ordinary men, women, and everyone else. So
Right.
um, it's I think fear mongering is more popular than ever,
Yeah.
and I think it's
Right.
a disservice to humanity without question,
Right.
because most people are kind and most
Yeah.
people are as nice as they can be. Some people just
Right.
aren't happy, and it
Yeah.
shows up in how they treat others.
Right.
So, but I always look at it from a compassionate perspective,
Hmm.
because I've been angry before. I've had
Right.
that fear before, and it's no
Yeah.
fun. I get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, when you talk to media, I'm a firm believer. I'm with you. The media pushes fear so much, and people
Hmm.
buy into the fear that the media
Hmm.
pushes often. And that is something that you said. It's the lack of getting educated around what's going on. So if you're not educated on what's going on, or learn more about it and see both perspectives of it,
Hmm.
it's very easy to fall down that path and just believe what you believe. And that's the problem I think we run into as society. And then, we have our differences instead of sitting down and saying, okay, well, I'd like to see your side of it. And maybe I don't understand this subject very much. People, they scroll through 5 TikToks and now all of a sudden they're an expert on that subject.
Right.
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 So,
Right.
so,
Well, everyone wants to feel smart. I get that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
right.
again, if you gotta know the source you're getting your knowledge from.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I used to
yeah,
think, when people got all these various degrees, they were really smart. No, they're really educated.
yeah,
And, smarts, I think, is a little bit different sometimes.
right, right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that, that's one of the things like I'm trying to do is, push a lot more, as positivity and
Yeah.
push more goodness and stuff because the media does push so much negativity and so much fear and they're pushing that all the time. And so I think we need to change the conversation and we need more leaders out pushing. We need leaders that are pushing more compassion and more positivity and more optimism. And we don't have that. And I also believe that we need to change who people look up to. I believe that we've fallen into a society where everybody looks up to even business leaders. But most of the business leaders you don't want to look up to, right? You should be looking up to people that are like, wow, that person's really happy. That person's got full control of their emotions, right? Like, that is the ideal life. So I think we got to change the dynamic of who we start to look up to. I could go into about 10 names right now. I could just throw under the bus, but I'm not going to do that because I don't need to go into that,
That,
negativity
that's
with everybody
that's
else.
no, there's no need for that.
No, right? There's enough people to do that already. I don't need to do that.
Right, and it's true, and people are going to go at each other all the time, and that's something I won't do. It doesn't make me feel good when I do. I want to sometimes, and being honest, I'm a human being, but it would serve no purpose except re-engage that person and turn it up a notch. And it's like, I'm not a big fan of drama. I know some people are very comfortable with it because that was probably how they grew up, so it's
Right.
normal. But peace, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
do you, I do me, and we leave each other be and let each other be how we are, as long as we're not
Right.
harming other people.
100% peace and love and unity is the what we got to do, especially online now. With online, we've got more opportunity now to create more peace and more love and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
there's more hate and more fear sometimes and more negativity online, and I see it at a big scale. By the way, everyone watching right now, if I'm looking over there, it's because Instagram live streaming too, and I got YouTube live streaming, and I got Twitter live streaming, and we got Facebook live streaming. So we're live streaming from everywhere. So
That's awesome.
yeah. Um, yeah, like I've even seen it recently because of like certain things blowing up for me. And, looking like I said, some of my posts got, 1 million views and 100,000, 400,000. So like every night I'm spending an hour and a half just replying to all the comments. And like last night I replied to 210 comments last night. And, and that's just my nightly thing now, respond to every comment from
Mhm.
everywhere. Tonight I'm probably 400 tonight. And so, but you look at, and there's just all different kinds in there. Like there's like literally like I post a thing on, hey, I just held the door for a lady right now and nobody else did it. And I think you guys got to be cognizant of that. Well, then right away, like 4 people jumped in. Oh, you're such a hero. You really need to show that or talk about it. You know what I mean? Right. Like, and then another person's like jumps in, but then I got 40 more people jumping in, and I love it. Keep showing it. Talk about right. And it gives people ideas to go do compassion. But you can just see like those negative people because things are gotten bigger for me. They're just like they come a lot harder. And there's more of them, and
Mhm.
and and it's kind of funny to watch some of them, right? And I go back and forth, but in a polite way with a few of them. And in the end, I'm just like, hey, I hope you have a great day, man. Like I really do. And
Mhm.
it's hard when you're coming from a positive tone for them to play back with you too, because they want to get into that argument with you. Um, so I see a lot of that, but then I've seen this. One of my posts was just giving hope to people, and it went really big and a lot of comments, and it was really crazy to me. And that a lot of the comments that I got in were, "Hey, I'm just going through cancer. I really needed this right now. No one's ever no one's ever believed me in my entire life. I needed this right now, bro. Like I'm just on the borderline of not good things right now." Like
Mhm.
you should have seen so many came in like that,
Yeah,
and
I think a lot of times people don't feel like anyone cares or hears them.
yeah, yeah,
Affirms what they're experiencing, whether it's, accurate or not. It's still in their mind, and they're still living with that thought or that feeling.
right. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's interesting because I was talking to one of the ladies and I said, you know, you look at like me having a lot of people around me, but I said there's actually, they're because they're like, God, nobody really is like gives me hope or believes in me or kind of roots for me. And I said the truth is I got way less people that root for me because in the business world I know exactly who wants me to win, and I know all the people that would rather win before me. I know for sure.
Hmm.
And so, and I know which people that are like true to that. And so I'm like, yeah, there's a lot more people that are jealous if I grow faster than them. And they don't root for me at all. I can tell. You can just tell it in how they are.
Hmm.
So, it works both ways, and she kind of laughed because she's like, yeah, you look at you and you would think that, you look very successful and everyone would be rooting for you. And she goes, I never thought about it that way, where like there's because we're in a society that's really weird right now too. More people want your downfall than they actually want you to win online. It's crazy. It is completely nuts. And that conversation has to change too, because we should be rooting for people more, not hoping for their failure, watching their
Hmm.
demise.
Hmm.
When somebody's demising and you're like, oh, look at that. It's like a movie, but in real life. That's just not good. That's not healthy.
Right. And I think that says a lot about the individual too and what their experience is.
Right.
Because I've always
Yeah.
said that the mouth is the exhaust pipe of the soul.
Right.
I would add to that the keyboard is as well. So you can kind of get a feel for where people are at on how they come out, um, either supporting or working against people. And
Right.
again, people all have their own reasons for behaving the way they do. It's just it's a much nicer place when it's a more positive thing and it's a supportive thing as opposed to well, good, I don't have it, so I don't want them to have it kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think people, if you go around and you write bad, negative stuff on people's comments and you're negative to them, to me, those people are suffering more than anybody. Because for you to do that, there's something that you're not happy with inside.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
really not. You don't conduct that behavior if you're positive and optimistic and happy. You just don't
Right.
do that.
Yeah,
Right.
and I've noticed a lot of the comments I get on social are very positive.
Right.
And there's some that are very not positive, but for the most part, they're kind, supportive people, which I
Right.
always very much appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about depression because it's a subject that, I think it's a subject that everybody, well, not everybody, but vast majority of people experience at some time, whether it's mild depression or deep depression or depression.
Hmm.
And you living in Dallas, we just had the football player Nealon take his life, and that was mental health issues.
Hmm.
So, when it comes to depression, I know you've struggled on and off before with depression. Tell me a little bit about your experience going through depression.
Well, it was depressing. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with it. It was part of it had to do with just life circumstances.
Right.
And so I was on, again, no motivation, no gratitude, no joy. I was seeing a doctor and getting different prescriptions at different times. Some stuff was just, it make you just wonky as can be.
Right.
I could use a lot of the terms. I'll stick with wonky. And I did that for nearly a decade. Again, what I didn't know and what the doctor didn't know and didn't tell me was, our brains are made up of over half fat. And if we're not nourishing our brain, we can end up with a myriad of psychological disorders. And they'll never look at that. They're just going to medicate you, as opposed to, now there's benefits to therapy for people who, have experienced PTSD. There's EMDR and other therapies that isn't about the drug, just masking it for a while. That I would always encourage people. There's two really good books that I highly recommend. One is Walking the Tiger, and the other is The Body Keeps the Score. And in both of those, they prove the efficacy of alternative methods that no doctor prescribes. Alternative methods, which included, EMDR and some psychedelics with therapy and that kind of thing. Not a party kind of thing, but more of an intentional thing.
Right.
And they put the kibosh on both of them, on all of them, because they just want to keep pushing pharma. So for me, the guy said, look, your brain's over half fat and you need to nourish your brain, which my diet was fast food, processed food, meat, dairy, eggs, and diet drinks. And so I started taking 2 tablespoons of fresh ground flax seeds in a smoothie. Now, in those smoothies, frozen banana, greens of some kind, maybe cacao, hemp seeds, chia, coconut water, almond milk. And I did that. And he said, in 6 months' time, you can reverse or eliminate bipolar disorder, depression, and ADD or ADHD, one of the two. Maybe it's both. And
Right.
so I said, he's not selling me anything. I'll give it a try, because I thought everything outside of the medical establishment was BS. Well, oops. And 4 months later, I had resolved my depression through a change in diet alone.
Mm.
And am I busting out with joy every day? No. But am I grateful every day? Without a doubt. Do I have faith every day everything's going to work out perfectly, whether I like it, agree with it, or understand it? Yes. And so I'm free of that hamster wheel of, anxiety or depression or whatever that goes in my head. Plus, like I mentioned before, there's 2 books that help, especially on the anxiety side. People talk more about depression than the anxiety side. The
Right.
mind is just constantly running because it thinks it has a job to do. So it projects you in the future, it keeps you in the past.
Yeah.
And you're not the one who's saying the things your mind is saying. You're the one listening to it.
Right.
So The Untethered Soul is the first book I recommend, but you can listen to it or read it. And then The
Right.
Power of Now. And there's other books around that. So there are solutions to freedom outside of, here's another prescription. We'll up the dose or down the dose and whatever else. And then you have to come off of it years later, whatever the situation is. And depression, I think, part of it has to do with isolation. I think part of it has to do with it's just a myriad of things for different people. But
Hmm.
it sucks to be in it. There's
Yeah.
no question. And I've had friends like Marshawn who used a gun to take their own lives,
Right.
and it's always devastating because it's like I wish they would have talked to somebody or sought different help or
Right.
whatever it is, because there are solutions out there. I just would wish uh, a happy mental life for all. I just know that
Hmm.
it's been an issue since probably the beginning of time
Hmm.
for different reasons.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a deep subject, and there's so many areas from, like you said, there's so many things that come together, from physical exercise to eating to just even meditation and stuff like that, and trying to slow your brain down, right? Slow your brain waves down, right? A lot of times, like when you say anxiety, it's the brain waves are just, especially beta, it's going too fast.
Hmm.
When you slow everything down, um, it becomes a lot more calmer and peaceful. But it does. It takes work, and I think that's the problem with everything. Me teaching and working with my mind every day, like everyone sees me do. I'm showing the journey of what I do, and that's what keeps me out of depression. That's what keeps me motivated. That's what keeps me happy. It's just I work my brain as much as I work my body. Probably work my brain more than I do my body, to tell you the truth,
Hmm.
because that's what gets me to the gym when I don't want to go. You know what I mean, right? And that's why, I came from, a life of, partying hard and doing drugs and, and drinking lots and, and all that type of stuff. And, you know, that could send you, that sent me into depression faster than anything, because it would be up and then it would be fun. Then you'd have to deal with the next days. And the next days were not fun.
When you're not loaded or high, yes.
Exactly, right? Exactly. I was really good at taking my brain and putting myself back into the fun feeling part. You know what I mean? And forgetting about the real bad part that I kept going through. And then when I finally realized that how the brain worked and what I kept doing and kept working on it, I started to get control of my emotions a lot more, which helped. And I was able to get to a peak. Like now I don't really go through anxiety, or I don't really go through overwhelm, or I don't really go through frustration, I don't really go through anger like that. I just have a good sense of peace and balance, right? I'm not too up and I'm not too high. Like I don't really fully believe in full happiness now, even, because I think if you can just get to a place where you're just very nice and peaceful most of the time, right? Because I see people get real happy because you go on a trip and then they're real happy and then they got to come back and go to work and they're like, my life sucks, right?
So well, that's just a distraction.
Yeah, it's extreme happiness, right? So I think if you can just get to that, like, that real balance of everything, where you just kind of go through life and you have this sense of peace and calm, that's what I've been able to do. And I've been, one thing I've been working on personally is just starting to be more playful, right? Just be like more playful, a little more fun, and not take things quite so seriously, and just like, and I think that's a big, important thing. I think if people can be a little more playful, it can help with depression and all that. But I think it all comes into so much into one thing that you got to be, working on. And that's why I try, and with what I'm trying to do is show people with just me, because I'm working on my mind, I'm working on my body, I work on my eating. Like it all comes together, right? It all comes, like me doing 365 days in a row, like of filming every day, right? There's a lot of people there's people getting on board just to see if I can do it now, right? Like there's people who are like, man, can this guy actually do it? Like he's on day 20. I've got how many days left? Don't even tell me.
345. Yeah.
Right. But the difference too is even though like there's some days, like the other day, I didn't really want to film. Like I was like not feeling good, tired. I my brain wasn't working that well, and I showed them. I like literally went outside. I went to a park. I needed to change my environment. I did push-ups to change my energy, and like I filmed it for them and said like I was just not in a good place right now tonight. Like it was just like it was just my energy, my body was kind of stale, didn't feel good. Just that type of stuff. So I knew that I just had to completely make a change. So I showed them in real time. And that's the stuff that people don't get to see. They don't get to see when that happens. They just see the good stuff of most of the people online. They don't see.
Well, I mean, they see what people want them to see.
Yeah. Like I would normally not show somebody that I would get out of my environment. I had to go be by myself, go to a park when it was cold out, and like just do push-ups and stuff. Like normally I wouldn't show that, but I felt really good after. Like really good, because it changed my environment, it changed my state, it changed, the feeling, it got my energy going.
And the endorphins should flow in exercise too. After
the endorphins flowed well, and I just felt good. So just something that I needed to do. And so, I think that like even with what I'm doing, people could start to see, every morning he writes his affirmations down. Every morning he writes his task down. I should carry these index cards with me that have my affirmation. I pull them out like 50 times a day and read them. So what, when you were going through depression, did you ever feel alone?
Yeah. Oh, without question, because it's not something you normally talk about it, man up, handle your business kind of thing. And, but yeah, I was dealing with a few different things that were, from outside of myself, but, you know, I think today if I ran into the same situations, I have a different way of dealing with things, and wouldn't have to necessarily have the same experience. But at the same time, you know, I was doing it to myself by what I wasn't doing, and that was nourishing my brain,
Right.
essentially. And so, no, it was more of an inside thing. You know, I didn't talk about it with people. I just, you know, masked it, and
Right.
went on, and finally, once I realized there was an alternative method, I was like, And you're not selling anything? Okay, let me try that. And
Right.
it worked. I just had to do it every day.
What was the hardest part emotionally for you?
That's a good question. Just like it was almost like a bottomless pit. I,
Right.
I didn't know that I'd ever get out of it.
Right.
And again, the isolation was a big, the loneliness, if you will. You know, again, I was creating it and I was going through it in my mind when in fact, in reality, I was around people. There were people in my life, but I didn't know to necessarily get it out and
Mhm.
just be real with people about what was going on.
Well, and it's hard for men because it's almost like you're not supposed to do that, especially, a man's supposed to be stronger. You're not supposed to show that, weakness.
Right.
And that's kind of how society has kind of looked at men and kind of set the tone for a lot of men, especially in the business world. In the business world, men are just not supposed to show weakness at
Right.
all.
Just get the
Right.
job done and get the check.
Yeah, totally. Right. So, and then you do look at how many business men end up committing suicide or become alcoholics or drug addicts or sex addicts. I mean, it's
Workaholics.
deep.
Yeah.
Workaholics is deep, very deep,
Hmm.
very deep.
Well, and you have to remember that, you know, we come into our lives depending on who raises us and the influences we have on people who, you know, weren't given the whole book, you know, with all the answers and the
Yeah,
best practices and stuff. So
right.
we have to figure those out on our own, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you do look back at how you were raised,
Hmm.
and then you say, okay, well, what do I what's the good from it, and then what do I have
Uh-huh.
to fix from it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm grateful, you know, there was a lot of good. At the same time, there are a lot of things I didn't know that I didn't know. So, and I still don't know what I don't know, but I've learned a tremendous amount because I was willing to do the work and learn about it and read about it and talk with others about it.
Right.
And again, as a result, I get to have a little bit better time in my experience of life.
Yeah. What's one small step that helped you feel better along the way?
I think realizing that there was a solution I had not been privy to before, um, and knowing and trusting that it would get better if I worked for it, you
Right.
know, if I was willing to do things differently and take in new information and shift, you know, attitudes and behaviors. And so there was always a little bit of hope in, you know, I'm supposed to be here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm supposed to be here.
Right.
And you know, there were too many opportunities growing up where I could have easily not been here.
Hmm.
And so I just trust that there's a reason for it. And
Right.
to this day, it's just about asking the universe, what, you know, what can I do? What can I
Hmm.
do? How can I make things better?
Kind of like our mission: better humans, better connections, better world. You know,
Hmm.
and I think we all can. I think that what you said too, finding that you kind of had that purpose, or well, what am I here in this world to do? and you're asking those questions. I think when
Hmm.
people start to lose that sense of purpose and why you're here, that's when you can fall fast. And I felt there too before, because sometimes you're just like working so much, and then you're like, okay, is like this, are you just building business just like for the money in the end? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
is this really like happiness? I see some of my friends get to like such big money, and then they're just like not fully happy, and I'm like, they've just given up their so much of their life, and not fully happy. But then I've also seen the other side too, where I have a lot of friends too that struggle, financially and are not happy. So,
Right.
yeah. So,
And then there's the fact is there'll always be people with more, there'll always be people with less. And within those groups of people, wherever we are, um, happiness is an option. It people can be people with what people would go with, they don't have a lot material wise, are just as happy and as fulfilled and complete as can be. And there are some, I'm sure, with the millions or billions who are the same way, though they have to worry about taxes a whole lot more. So we've put, I think we've held up people who have been financially successful, whether it's in the sports arena or business arena, as the winners, as the best. And I'm not saying they're not awesome. I'm just saying that doesn't guarantee anything other than paying more taxes. So again, it's I believe people can be, and you have to understand. When I was younger, in fact, I was telling somebody about this today. I remember being in my early 20s, and we were talking about work. I was like, I was a bill collector, a process server, bounced in a bar, worked in a liquor store. I had 3 or 4 jobs because I
mhm.
had to pay my bills, and I wasn't living fancy at all.
Right.
And so I think, that can be draining for people, especially if you've got a family and stuff too.
Mm.
So I'll never sit here and pretend I know what it's like to be anybody else. I don't. I just know that there are people who find happiness through things that have nothing to do with owning stuff or making oodles of money. It's just about having a fulfilling life. Usually that's with family or friends, and maybe doing something they enjoy doing or having hobbies they enjoy or whatever it is. But I think it's different for different people, and it doesn't have to look any certain way.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think we fall into the trap of, we think because we want that everyone else should want that too. And I have both sides of friends. I have a friend that has lots of money and Lamborghinis and all the kinds of stuff, and he is completely happy. And I have another friend that he works at Walmart part time, and he's completely happy. So to me, it doesn't matter, right? Like,
Mm-mm.
I don't care as long as they're happy. I don't judge. It doesn't matter to me, and that's just the key. And so sometimes, like, even my friend was like, that works at just a normal job and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, I couldn't do what you do just because it would stress me out too much. Like, I couldn't
Right.
get up and run business and get up at 4 a.m. and you have to like be self motivated. Like, I go to a job because I have to be there. He goes, yeah, I'd probably just like lay in bed and then be like, oh, I got to get up. And then I'd probably like go for a walk, and then I'd be like, have no money and I get no paycheck. He said. So he said, I
Uh-huh.
couldn't do what you do because it wouldn't make me happy. Where I'm the same way too. If I have to work, I haven't worked for somebody, I don't know, for 30 years or whatever. If I had to work for somebody, I would be totally miserable. Totally miserable. So I found out, like, for me, I personally found what made me happy a long time ago. Even when I had very little money, I would still have rather worked for myself,
Hmm.
because I just like to go where I want, do what I want. So that's one thing I came to the conclusion. For
Hmm.
me, it was true. My true happiness was working for myself, doing what I wanted on my own, even if I didn't make a lot of money, by far,
Right.
by far, right? Because I've had offers to go work for some of my friends' companies and make a lot of money when I could have used it. And it just, it wouldn't have made me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I really knew too that I was really sticking true to my values, because I didn't gravitate towards that, that kind of money when I maybe would have needed it more then, but I would have been completely unhappy. I would have got up and been like, oh my God, like I do not want to have to get up and go to a place at a certain time.
Right.
And take
Right.
lunch at a certain
I
time.
did that for a lot of years, but I almost always worked remotely. So
Right.
I maintained my own hours and it was
Yeah.
my own motivation. I didn't need to be somewhere. And I
Right.
tried that for a very brief period of time. I hated it because I'm like, I can't, no one in here is buying from me. So why am I here? So, again, so I get it. I totally get it. And there are other people who are like, they want to be able to turn on at 8 or 9 o'clock and then shut off at 5 and be
Yeah.
separate and have and a
Yeah.
high five, chest bump, whatever works for you is perfect. It's just,
That
we all like different things.
Well, and that's what we got. That's what I always tell people. The problem, we got to do what you want to make, what you like to do, and what makes you joyful in life, and what gives you joy, and what gives you that happiness. Because for so long we're always programmed too. Like if you look back, it's always like, you come out of school, go get a job, go to school, get married, have kids, and 90% of all my married friends, every guy, and I won't, I keep that why, because I don't want to get certain ones in trouble. But all of them said to me, if I could do it again, I wouldn't have done it like I done it. They all said it to me, and I always look at that and just thought, I've just kind of done what makes me happy, to be honest. And a lot of people have told me that I should do this in my life and do this in my life and stuff, and I've never really listened. I've never said anything to them that I thought
Right.
their opinions were completely wacko. You know what I mean? Which
Right.
I
Well,
do.
they
But
were
I've
just
just never said it. I've never said anything, right? Because none of them were smart enough to ask me, and like that's bad to say, but let me retract that. None of them.
what I meant to
None of.
say.
Yeah,
What I meant to
I'm not gonna
say.
have any friends or anybody around me pretty soon. I guess they're just with you now. Um, None of them asked me probably the most important question you should ask somebody.
What do you want?
Well, what do you want? Or even more important, are you happy? Like no one asked me that question. Like no one said to me, they're like, well, maybe you should get married, maybe you should find a girlfriend, maybe you should do this, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like no one said to me, are you happy? Right. And so, and I always knew that. And I was always watching to see, is somebody actually going to ask me that? But no one ever like actually asked me that.
Shane,
And
are
so,
are you happy?
yeah, yeah, I am. I'm very happy.
There, I wanted to break the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Don't worry, I'll call and tell you if I'm not. Oh, yeah.
No, I
So
think
yeah,
everybody has it made up how they have it made up, and just because I have it made up like A and someone else has it made up B, that doesn't make it wrong. It's just we have things made up the how, and so my thing is always what works for you.
yeah, that's right. That's
No, what I think is not important. If you want me to give an opinion, I'm happy to share it, but
that's
I
right.
never pretend to know what people should be doing, other than you know taking care of themselves, especially
That's
when
right.
it comes to mental health.
Yeah. I mean, I ask a lot of my friends now and people closest to me, and even people that work for me, I ask them that question: are you happy? And it's very interesting because they're very honest, with me, because I can tell when they look at me. I can tell, and they're like, when they start to like, they're kind of like,
Trick
and then
question.
I say, from 1 to 100, how happy are you?
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll say, right? And it's interesting because when I ask that question, some of them have started to do different stuff now, because they're like, man, I'm just doing the same thing, and I'm not fully happy. I don't feel like I'm fully living, not really joyful, right? That
Right.
joyfulness and that playfulness, and like you just, it's just fun, right? And and that's what I want for everybody. Like I really want that for humanity. If I could just take a magic wand and go boom right now, and everyone
Mm-hmm.
just had joy and peace and was happy, and I mean that would be I won the lottery, and
Well, and I think that's where gratitude is such a huge piece of that,
right,
because it helps put things in perspective,
it does.
And I have to offer. because someone pointed this out to me one time. I thought that's just damn brilliant. And that is, if you're having a hard time figuring out things that you're grateful for, then just be grateful for things you don't have that you don't want. That's a
You know,
real easy list.
that's interesting. You know, Eckhart Tolle said something I found interesting. Eckhart, who Power of Now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people know I helped Eckhart build his movie. Right, we helped to take his Milton
Oh, with
Secret
Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, that was me and
Yeah.
Steve Sorry, yeah, we did all the digital marketing for that and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I knew you
Yeah.
were involved with it, but I didn't know
Yeah,
exactly from what aspect because it's been a
yeah,
long time since we
yeah. I
discussed
was
it.
on set. I was on set with that. You want to know a quick funny story?
Tell me.
This is embarrassing. I get to set. Donald Sutherland's in doing his line. Michelle Rodriguez is there, Fast and the Furious. Everyone's like in the thing. I walk in. They're filming. It's in this house. So I'm like kind of quietly coming in the back. My phone goes off. The ringer, I thought I turned the ringer off. Dude, I was so embarrassed. Like, anybody watching the replay on this, just imagine. Like, you were like, everybody was like, whose phone is that? Like, everybody, like 100 people in there, right? I like tried to run for the door because I seen the door was going to be faster for me to get out the door, you know what I mean, than get out of my pocket because it was right there. I literally like knocked over everybody, right? Oh man, and it was so funny. But that's how I got to know Michelle and Donald because it kind of became a joke, and then from there.
Oh, you're that dude with the phone. Yeah.
Yeah,
I wanted to do
totally.
that scene over anyway.
Yeah. Oh man, and I always like think
Oops.
about that now and think, man, yeah, that was one of those times when you look back and you think, oops, right?
Yeah, we've all had at least one of those.
Yeah. So back to what I was saysaying. I
Yeah,
found
Eckhart
this
Tolle.
interesting. Eckhart Tolle said this, and I don't know
Yeah.
if I agree with this.
What's that?
So Eckhart Tolle says this: gratitude should be just in the here and now. So gratitude shouldn't be, like gratitude for what you don't have, or gratitude that like I have this and somebody out there doesn't have this. So you're kind of creating somewhat of a separation, and saying, okay, that person's suffering and that, and I'm not, right? But, the way he says gratitude in the moment, and I think that it goes back to this. You've got to figure out what's right for you. There's no right way or wrong way. That's what I tell people. Even the way I teach, the way Eckhart teaches, the way anybody teaches. It's just our philosophy and the way I do things. Figure out what's right for you. And that's what I've been really good at, is being like trying this and then being like, no, that doesn't work as good for me. Like, it works better for me when I can actually feel like I'm grateful that I have this home, but other people in other countries are suffering. It makes me feel more compassionate, and it doesn't put me into like a bad place. And it makes me gratitude, but it also makes me more motivated to help people. So it works. It works for me. It works for me at a deep level. I want your thoughts on that for a minute, but it also reminds me of a story like Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk were together, and Tony Robbins said, "How do you get yourself motivated?" And Gary goes, and Tony just started laughing his head off. He goes, "Well, that's one way to do it." Gary goes, "I picture my mom, my dad, my brother, and my cousins all getting killed, and if I don't succeed, they all get killed and die." And Tony Robbins slaps Gary on the chest, starts laughing. He goes, "Well, that's one way to get yourself motivated."
Wow.
So he found out what works for him. He's very successful, as you know. So he's found out. So I always tell people, you just don't take from one person. Try and figure out what works for you. There's no right way or wrong way to the knowledge. It's just what you try on and think, okay, well, this is a good way. I like doing it this way, and it's working for me.
Take what you can and leave the rest.
Yeah. So that's my two perspectives from Eckhart and even a Gary and a Tony, because Tony doesn't do it that way at all.
How does Tony do it?
He's more he wouldn't take your brain down into a deep negative, almost like that, where you're picturing people dying and your family getting kidnapped. You know what I mean? Like that's, you got, if you're going down that way to get yourself motivated, you got to have you know what I mean? Like you got to have a strong brain to pull yourself out of there and not pull yourself into anxiety, overwhelm. You know what I mean? All these emotions
Right.
where you don't
Yeah.
want to do, but that works for Vanderchuck.
Yeah. No, and that's based on results. It works for him very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never thought of that. I've never heard of that. I would never. I don't. I don't know. I'd have to think on it outside of sitting here talking with you. Um, but I understand Eckert's thing about being present, as far as the gratitude for the present moment, as opposed to the past. But I have just as much gratitude for the past when I look at all the others who haven't made it this far.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as aren't still alive,
Yeah.
I don't mean this far like I have some level of success. It's just, um, I'm always going to be grateful for the parents I had. It's not like I think, oh, they're just absolutely perfect in every way. But compared to other people, they're awesome. They're absolutely stellar.
Yeah.
So that's perspective. But I'll always be grateful for things that aren't current, and I'll always be grateful for where and how and the people in my life and relationships I have and the current moment and the
Yeah.
fact that I can walk and talk and do all that stuff.
Mhm.
So I
Well,
think for me it's a mixture of both, and like you said, it's whatever works for people. You
yeah,
know,
and
I
and that's the thing. Like, I'm just very good if people follow my body of work, and even my friend she's one of the top counselors in all Vancouver. She gets her clients to do some of the stuff that I do because she's
uh-huh.
just like, you really do it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't talk, like every time I go through a door every day, I say my positive affirmations. So just think about how many doors you go through. You go through car doors, you go through
Office
office
stores.
doors. But for me, it's just stacking the positive. So for me, it's just the more I stack the positive, it starts to push. You never get rid of the negative fully, but it starts to overlay the negative. So it pushes it down. So it's kind of like pushes it down, never fully gets away with it, but it pushes it down. And so it
Mm-hmm.
does create new neural connections. So I'm just really good at, like, that's my secret sauce, is just I stack the positives all day
Mm-hmm.
consistently and
Mm-hmm.
and end up getting really good results from it. Um, because it's one of those things where I find it more beneficial, because when I go to the gym, I only got an hour to get my body good, but I got my brain all day to get good.
Right.
Right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's where you will change, because when you're that highly conscious of what you're doing with your brain, then you
Mm-hmm.
make really good changes. You really do, because you're
Mm-hmm.
not unconscious of, okay, oh, these thoughts came up. Oh, I'm making this decision. You're very conscious of everything that's happening within
Mm-hmm.
your behavior, your decisions, your thoughts. So your life starts to end up that way. I've just gotten really good at that. I practice obviously that a lot. And every morning, every night before I go to bed, I
Mm-hmm.
put good stuff into my brain every night, and every morning when I wake up, I put good stuff into my brain. I never
Mm-hmm.
miss. So if somebody just did that all the time, their life would completely change, because it's just, because your subconscious mind is so suggestible when you fall asleep, and your subconscious mind, which runs 95% of who you are, is so suggestible when you wake up. So when it just keeps getting programmed like that, it's almost impossible not to change. Right?
Right.
Like,
And
I
it
just
doesn't know the difference between reality, and
doesn't.
that's why you can put good stuff in and it'll begin to produce good stuff.
And that's my secret sauce to happiness, is what you just said. It doesn't tell the difference. So that's my secret sauce to be able to do 365 shows. And when
Mm-hmm.
people look and be like, can you be consistent? Well, I can be consistent because my brain has already put myself there. It already sees myself there. It already sees me enjoying it. Like, I've already finished. In my head, I've already finished 365. And I see
Mm-hmm.
what's happened, and I see me enjoying it. I see it fun, where the average person would be like, oh, if I'm going to try and do 365 days, they'd be like, oh, what happens when I get sick? Oh, what happens? Do you know what I mean? They're thinking about all the things not working out. So of course it's not going to work out. If
But
I thought like that too, there's no way that I would make 365.
well, but that's what
There's no
that's
way.
what happens when you listen to the egoic mind. It thinks it has a job to do, so it projects you in the future. And if you think about it, like less than, I don't know, 1% of the time is it right, but we still listen to it. We still go to it. We still trust it. And it's just not, it's not there to serve us. It's there to actually work against us. We just don't realize that that's not us, and we can change that.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, and people ask, when you change it, it's just the stuff that I keep doing all the time. It's just not one thing. It's a variety of things that keep programming that. So like people wouldn't realize, like, if I already see myself there and I already feel it in my body and it creates the happiness, it's
Mhm.
not pulling me into the future of this not working out. So of course that I get there. It's just a matter of time. That's
Mhm.
the problem. That's the other problem with people though too. People hate patience, right? So they don't want to look at. I look at my journey right now of this 365 and living the journey, everything I'm doing with YouTube and helping people and everything.
Yeah.
I look at it 3 years from today. I told my team, don't worry about today. Who cares how many subscribers we have? And we're getting lots. Like I think we got 400 last night, in the last 3 days.
Mhm.
But I said, who cares about that? If we serve humanity and we help people, doesn't matter. Let's look 3 years what this looks like. Think about it. We really keep doing this and we really serve people. What does it look like 3 years from today? So
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
this is just the base.
100%. That's just the
Mm.
base. Like I said to you, like this is the first live that I'm doing interview. We'll look back in this even in a year and be like,
Mhm.
oh, look at like I did my first one. Remember this?
Yay.
And people will go back, they'll be watching, they'll be like, oh, I love that interview, or I hated that interview, or I love those guys, or I didn't like those guys.
Right.
They'll all love you. That's the thing. You got a pleasing personality, so they'll all love you.
Yay. It's just how I'm wired.
Right, right. So before we wrap it up tonight, two more questions. One, I'm going to talk about the compassion of the heart of all y'all food, your company. I want to talk a little bit about that, but I want to end with, what does being human mean to you?
I think that being human is several to me is several things. Being imperfect, making mistakes, owning our mistakes makes things a lot easier for those around us. I mean, if you live by yourself on an island and there's no one else, you know what I mean? It's a different thing. But still, I think being compassionate. I've been told throughout the years that I'm most powerful when I'm in my heart. And, I don't always want to do that. I don't always want to share that or be that vulnerable. But I think being vulnerable is part of it, and being kind, and um, trying to understand the other person's come from.
Mm-hmm.
I think all play into it. And we're just, I realized through a couple of experiences I've had over the last 2, 3 years that I really believe that we're all one. I mean, literally all one. We're
Right.
all from the same stardust, and
Yeah.
everything around us is part of that. Every
Mm-hmm.
single thing we see around us, and to us, human race, the animals, the bugs, the birds, everything, we're all one. But
Mm-hmm.
we, over a long period of time, we've separated ourselves, and we've taken ourselves out of nature into buildings. A lot of things have changed, but I think the win is in being as kind to others as we'd have them be kind to us, to not take on other people's stuff, allow them to have their experience, but you don't have to take it on.
Mm-hmm.
You can keep yourself separate from it, but always look at things, if at all possible, from a compassionate standpoint instead of a judgmental one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just blathered on a whole lot right there. But that's being human is it's sometimes it's easier for us than others. And I think when people talk about younger people and kids, children, being a certain way, I'm like, because they don't have a perspective.
Mm-hmm.
they haven't experienced anything that their little lives have been to that point, so they can't have an appreciation for things. They can't,
Right.
so I think when we're older and our eyes are open mostly, we can
Mhm.
um, come at it with more compassion, because we get that, nobody's perfect and everyone just wants to feel loved and appreciated and valued and safe.
Mhm. It's true. I mean, everybody does want the same thing, pretty much, in the end, just trying to get it in different ways, but they
Yeah.
all are trying to get it from the same way. And I 100% believe that we all are one. There is no separation, and that's one of the things that I'm working to do, and will work for the rest of my entire body of work, entire life, is to try and bring people together, bring humanity together, and bring unity together. And I'll do it in multiple different ways, from our YouTube channel, of me doing this journey all the time, to going into corporations, to putting people into arenas, to going, all different kinds of ways that I'll do it, from communities to other countries. And,
Hmm.
and, but, mine's a 50-year project,
Nice. You
and
better stay healthy, son.
100%. I agree. I agree. I agree. I
Well,
bet.
and I do want to add that I believe people can make a difference just by engaging people when they're in a public place. And when I say engaging, what I mean is look at them and say hello.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean stop and try to sell them something or whatever the thing is, but
Right.
just be friendly, be kind, smile at people. You have to realize that when people are less than friendly and kind and that kind of thing, you have no idea what's going on with them. And
Hmm.
your smile or your hello or your head nod or talk, some guys do this, some guys do that, whatever. That little act of kindness could go a long way and help them turn a corner in a positive way.
Yeah, it really does. Just acknowledging people, and that's a huge, huge thing. And I think that we just get so busy with our lives, and we get so busy with ourselves, and we're rushing here and rushing there and rushing there, that we forget to step back and slow down and look at humanity around us and the people around us, to, like you said, to say hi, to acknowledge somebody, to stop and hold that door, to do those little things and become
Hmm.
consciously aware when you're not doing those things. And I think that's the secret. If you're consciously aware when you're not doing it, I'm consciously aware when I know, damn, I didn't hold the door for that person. Like, why did
Hmm.
I? You know what I mean? Like, I'm very
Hmm.
consciously aware.
Hmm.
Like, one time I went back, I was like, when I just noticed when I don't do something, that I'm like, man, I should have done that. Like,
Hmm.
and that was just me being unconscious, getting caught up in my own life, trying to rush here and get here fast, and realize, like, that would have taken me like 1 minute. Like, really.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah, and I run into that too, where I'm like, why didn't I engage? Look at them, and again, we get in a hurry. We're off in our own minds, thinking any number of things, and people are so lost in their phones anymore. But it just takes a conscious effort to do that. How can I make things maybe a little better for someone, or maybe not at all, but at least put forth the effort to share kindness.
yeah, and it's such an important part for all humanity. And if everybody just had do you know does a little bit more of that, and that's why I think we've got to create more consciousness in people around these things. And that's kind of like what I'm doing. As my community grows and
Hmm.
grows and grows, it'll be little things like that, helping become more conscious of little things. When you go out, look at what you're doing. Look at if somebody else is somebody else suffering. And I'm a, I think I've gotten a lot better at now being able to not judge people, and being like, I wonder what that person's going through,
Hmm.
right? Like, just even the person that I know that's in the Lamborghini and looks like they have all the money in the world, but you don't know that person all of a sudden goes and takes his life. And I'm always asking, I wonder what that person's going through. I wonder if they're okay, and I wonder if
Hmm.
they're happy. I wonder if their life is going good. And when you start to think like that, you become a different person. You cannot help but become a different person,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're always thinking like that, you're starting to care about people more. And that's becoming highly conscious. And go ahead. Yeah.
No, one of the things I realized, it was pointed out to me a while back, is considering other people being like someone. Just imagine it's someone you love, care about, whether it's a family member, a friend, or whatever, and just treat them as you'd want someone to treat them. That
Right.
stranger, treat them as you'd want someone to treat someone you love and care about. And that makes things a lot easier sometimes when I don't feel like it. It's like, wait a minute, no, I need to take that extra little action, to show, kindness.
It's true. And some people have, I've heard them say, well, humanity can't do that. People can never care for other people as much as they care for people that are in their inner circle or their family. It's literally impossible. And
Okay.
I call bullshit on that.
Well, again, it's
because
easier for people
because I
to
got
do that.
because I have certain people in my life that, and I don't go deep into my personal, but I have certain people in my life that aren't blood, that, and that I
Hmm.
care for
Yeah.
just as much as my family.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't, that's again where I think that um, maybe that person saying that hasn't experienced that, so that's why they haven't been able to talk about that, where I can
Hmm.
talk about that because it's like truly happened.
Yeah, and it's not unusual for people to think their limits exist with everyone.
Yeah.
They think
Yeah.
that's normal, and you can't move beyond that. And it's like, well, yeah, you can. But
Yeah, I'm sure Mother Teresa didn't walk around and be like, oh, I love this person a little more.
right,
Right.
her and Gandhi, yes.
Yeah, right. Right.
No, it's again, I think I said it at least once before. It's progress, not perfection. Being
Mm,
human is not about being perfect. It's about trying again. It's about progressively getting better. I don't know anything I've done perfectly, um, but I get better,
mm,
and I always work to improve. I'm not like uh, uh, definitely not a motivational speaker type. I have my own path, but at the same time, I put forth efforts to better myself,
mm.
and be kinder to those around me. And so far, so good.
Well, like you said, that's a big word for all humanity. As long as people are trying, and if you're trying, I said on the stream the other day, if you're showing up and you're in our community, you keep showing up, that's trying. You're trying to get better. You're trying to be more compassionate. You're trying to, do whatever you want to do, but you're trying, and that's all you can do. And that's where you got to give yourself a pat on the back when
And I
you.
know Yoda said you either do or you do not. There is no try. I think the act of working towards something, even though you don't hit the mark, it is enough.
Mhm.
You just keep working at it. Keep working at it. Don't stop.
Well, and you learn so much. Us being older, we went through so much. So you look back and you go, things that haven't worked out. You learned so much to carry on to a lot of other areas of your life that end up working in other areas of your life because you learned that. And
Hmm.
so that's always with me. Like even us live streaming out on the streets and stuff like that. Even though I had cameramen follow me before, it's a different live streaming. And I don't know if I told you this, but the other day I did an IRL stream and we were walking away. It was like kind of rainy too in Vancouver. Didn't have people on camera with me. It was just me, but I had two people with me, and and we finished, put the mics away, walked away, got about 2 blocks away, and as I was walking away, I was like, that sucked. Like I was not good on camera today, and I could just feel it. And I
Okay.
literally stopped and I turned to them and I said, just delete that live stream. I'm doing it again. They're like, what? I'm like, just delete it. I'm doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't perfection. It was the fact that I knew I had a higher standard and I knew I could do a lot better. And I
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't on. And so we literally deleted the live stream and I went back and like streamed again. Like, and you usually we're trying to stream like just more like just my life and hey, we're doing this and that, that hasn't been really set up or planned. That was
Right.
that one was planned because I went back and like, that sucked. You know what I mean? And so, but when I went back and did it, it was 1,000,000,000% better. Like
Mm-hmm.
1,000,000,000, not
Mm-hmm.
even, not even like 5% better. It
Right.
was way better. Like I was just on. My talking was better. Like I just felt I was babbling and not getting to a point, and like it just was like I don't know what the heck happened to me, but I just felt like completely off, and so and even the people with me were like, that was good. Like your energy was different. Like it was good. Your stories were strong. Like your playfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Even he said to me, even how you were holding the camera, like even like you weren't just filming on, you were walking with it beside you and kind of all over, and it just felt like it felt human. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
before I was talking to the camera more. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like talking to the camera, not being human. So that was a big lesson, for me. But that ties into the trying. You know what I mean? You try
Mm-hmm.
and then you go, hey, that wasn't that good, and I'll try again.
Fall
Right?
down 6 times, stand up 7.
100%. I mean, we fell down with this IRL streaming of ours cutting out in bigger places when there's too much people using the internet. We had to figure all that out. Like, there's 3 times completely things have happened to us, and we're just laughing because we're like, "Hey, welcome to the game." You know what I mean? We'll look back in 6 months and we'll be like completely like crazy high level experts because we paid, we paid the dues through the whole time, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. As long as notes are taken mentally or physically, then you don't have to
yeah.
keep repeating.
Totally. So, what's with why is compassion at the heart of your company?
Um, because my mind and eyes and heart were opened to the fact that animals need not be part of our diet. And so for me, it was an instant awareness. It took now I had done a lot of learning and watched different films and that over some time, and then all at once it landed, and it wasn't like I made a decision. It was just a knowing,
Right.
and so about a year after that, for different reasons, I realized there's this issue where beef is our second largest agricultural export, and because I love a cow like I love a dog, I decided rather than just bitch about it, I would change it. And so I started, plant-based proteins company. And the thing is if you look at a lot of meat products, they actually work against the human body.
Right.
Like all beef, category 1 or 2 carcinogen. So we nourish rather than harm humans. We leave animals out of the equation. We've replaced upwards of 100,000 pounds of meat with plants since we started.
Right.
And a portion from every bag we sell goes to Rowdy Girl Sanctuary, which is the first cattle operation turned animal sanctuary in the world here in Texas.
Right.
So we're compassionate there. And then when it comes to the earth, we use less than 10% of the water, a big commodity, land, and fuel to produce our proteins compared to beef.
Right.
And so there's compassion for the humans, compassion for the animals, and compassion for the place we call home. And so
Right.
it is absolutely at the core of the brand, All Y'all's Foods. It couldn't be anything else. Kindness is in there too, but it's really about compassion.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought that was the perfect question to end with you because your whole company is built on it touches every faucet, humans,
Hmm.
environment, animals, of compassion.
Absolutely.
You know, touches some people, and it does touch every demographic, right? Some people have all three, Some people have one. Some people,
Mm-hmm.
believe in one. Some people believe in two. But it touches everybody in
Mm-hmm.
some way, shape, or form. And you're just a compassionate guy too, so it works well with your brain, with what you're doing. It's you, or you probably wouldn't have built it that way, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's just how I'm wired. It's not something I have to work at.
Right. Well, my friend, this has been a really good episode. It was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. I
Me
enjoyed.
too.
Yeah. Thank you. I enjoyed. Just for me not talking business too all the time. I've enjoyed this part of doing what I'm doing right now because I'm always, me, we're always
Yeah.
business
Right.
building. So to
Right.
actually just get down and talk about humanity and life and stuff like that, I've enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to enjoy a lot of these interviews moving forward, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not as much business, stuff,
Right.
right?
Right. Well, and I mean, it's business is part of it, but um, it's just one piece of many,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
life. I mean, it's important. It's very important, make no mistake, but it's just one piece of all the other pieces of life.
yeah. I agree. Well, thank you, buddy, and everybody tuning in
Thanks.
from wherever you're tuning in from, whatever cities, whatever towns, and whatever countries. Thank you so much for coming to our community. Leave a comment whether you see this, 3 months from now, 1 month from now, a year from now. Leave a comment where you're from. I'd love to get to know you. And we are building one of the most human companies right now. That's what I'm working to do. We're documenting our journey, or my journey of 365 days of human transformation, where I work on myself mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, at the same time, building the most human company and letting you guys behind the scenes with me. We all do it together and connecting across the world and creating more unity and good humans and peace. Not a big goal at all. It's a small.
Someone's got to do it, brother.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I'm attracting some real good people into our community too. Like people that are like, want to make a difference.
Hmm.
Good people. Good. But even ones that are coming in that are lonely. Just good people.
Yeah,
They need
yeah.
someone and they want a community just to hang out with.
That would
All right,
be
buddy.
a great one to be a part of for certain.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you
doing
so
what you do, and thanks for having me on. And y'all give us a follow on social.
Yeah, I'll tag you guys and stuff like that.
Cool.
All y'all foods, you guys. ALLYAL.
YALLSFOODS. All y'all's foods.
There, yeah. He can say it better than I can say
I'm
it.
used to saying it.
Right. So this is the first time I've used this platform, Brett. So I'm going to end stream, but if it just logs out, I'll give you a dingle after because
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen when I end the stream if it keeps us on here like Zoom or not. So